let's do one last video for 5.2a here. Let's look at a few more problems. I'm really trying to emphasize this section because I think it's one of the toughest, at least in this part of the course. People tend to get hung up on 5.2a, and so I want to give you a nice collection of problems to look at. So let's see. Clicked on next. Should give me a new problem in a moment. Okay, so we've got in parentheses 4a to the third b to the negative 2 outside parentheses raised to the negative 2, and on the bottom parentheses 2a to the negative first b, and that's raised to the negative first power. So they don't even give you one big fraction raised to a single power. They're actually giving you the top and the bottom as separate powers, which, you know, you can still do this out similar to the way you did the other example. They're just already showing you the top and the bottom separately raised to powers. So we'll definitely go to the tutor mode. There's some steps here. And what this should walk us through is to raise each factor on the top, which is 4, a to the third, and b to the negative second, are all raised to the negative 2 power. And then on the bottom, the factors are 2, a to the negative first, and b are all raised to the negative first power. So they break it down nicely. I think that's pretty clear. And then at each step here they say, you know, either just drop the parentheses, like 4 to the negative 2, or in this case, actually they didn't drop the parentheses, I guess they're still there, built in, but I'm just rewriting what's there, 4 to the negative 2, and then here they're saying if you had a to the third raised to the negative 2, remember that you multiply those powers. So that's a to the negative 6th. And then over here, b, and then what do you have for powers? Negative 2, negative 2. If I multiply those numbers together, I get positive 4. So that's what I've got in the numerator. On the bottom, 2 to the negative first, a, and then the powers are negative 1 and negative 1, or a to the negative first raised to the negative first. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. And then you've still got b to the negative first here. Okay. Now remember kind of the logical process that these problems keep following. It looks like you're raising the top and the bottom of the fractions to their respective powers. You're then raising each factor to the power that's on the outside of the parentheses, multiplying any powers, comparing the inside and outside of the parentheses, and then typically the next step is dealing with these negative powers. So that's probably what we're going to see right here. See, they give us the top and the bottom of the fraction, and the idea is that you look at this, what's here, and say, you know, I see some negative powers. I could write those as positive powers if I just put them at the opposite part of the fraction. So 4 to the negative 2 is the same as 4 to the positive 2. Let's see if they'll let me do that. No, they don't want me to do a power. Where's that? 4, let's see if the keyboard will let me do it. Alright, this is a little mysterious here. If you have 4 to the negative 2 power, that should be the same as 4 to the positive 2 power on the bottom, which I know is going to become 16, so maybe that's what they want. I get to go through the same quirks that you guys have to fight with sometimes. 4 to the second on the bottom is 16. Okay, what else is on the top here? A to the 6th becomes a to the negative 6th becomes a to the positive 6th. on the bottom. b to the fourth, that's on top, that can stay up top. Down below, you have 2 to the negative first. That's the same as 2 to the first. I think we should be able to write it right there. But either way, 2 goes up top is 2 to the first, or 2. A stays down bottom, and b to the negative first becomes b to the positive first. Let's see how they like that. Okay, so Hawks digested that properly. So what do we have? They ask you if you got 2b to the fourth times b, what have you got? You've got 2 times b to the 4 plus 1 power. You're adding the powers because it's a different situation than when you multiply them. You're multiplying with like bases. There's no parentheses though, right? It's just saying multiply like bases, add the powers. So 4 plus 1. Here you've got 16 times a to the 1 plus 6, it looks like. And then this step here, looks like they want that final answer, and we can give it to them by saying 2 and 16 will reduce and become 1 and 8. So I do know that there's going to be an 8 down bottom. I don't need to write the 1 up top, because look what's next to it. There's still some more stuff. We end up with b to the 4 plus 1, or b to the 5th on top. There's nothing else, then you'd have to write the 1. But we can say b to the 5th over 8, and then a to the 1 plus 6 is a to the 7th. b to the 5th over 8, a to the 7th. Okay. Let's see how we're doing for time here. Okay, so maybe we can squeeze in one more example. Let's just kind of talk through this one. If I had negative 5m to the second, and then over n, and that is in parentheses being squared, it's the same as raising the top and the bottom to the second power. And then when you square each piece, you end up with negative 5 times itself in parentheses, even power, that's 25, m, like Michael, to the 4th, and then down bottom, n, like Nancy. Have fun with these words to help describe the letters I'm using. N to the second is what you should have on bottom. Okay, we can do this one quick too. Look at what they give you. 2 times 3xy squared to the 0 power. All of this stuff is inside the parentheses. The 2 out front is outside the parentheses. So what happens when you raise something to the 0 power? Well, you could raise each of these to the 0 power, but the result is still going to be a 0 power for each factor, which is going to become 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So you're talking about 2 times 1, which is 2. So that's a nice quick one that we can grab. Okay, and this would be the final example. Let's see if we can squeeze it in. I've kind of got a 10-minute limit on YouTube. Raise the top and the bottom to the 4th power. Each factor, 3 to the 4th is 81. A to the 4th is a to the 4th. B to the b squared to the 4th is b to the 8th. And then down bottom you'd have b to the 4th. But look at what you've got. You've got a b on top, b to the 8th. You've got a b to the 4th down below. So you could subtract the 4 from the 8 with these b's, and there actually won't be a fraction anymore. You'd end up with 81, so I have to backtrack here, 81 a to the fourth b to the fourth. And that should be a final result.